First, I just want to do a little contrast for the team out there. So not only is this a secure solution, but it also contrasts very well to any other authentication methods out there. The issues that we're seeing today, the new threats being man-in-the-middle attacks and token attacks, and DNS attacks, are not addressed by the current hardware token solutions. Those do not help in helping the end user understand if they're really communicating with the proper SharePoint server. Our product, uniquely in this space, allows this to happen. So that being said, Jeff, why don't you take over a little discussion of how this is actually deployed.
Thank you, Garrett. Well, integrating SecureAuth with SharePoint services is relatively straightforward, and it will only take you a few steps to do so. First off, you will install the SecureAuth authentication appliance into your existing network infrastructure. We will hook it to your existing enterprise directory, whether it is a SQL Server or Active Directory. We will then enable the WSE3 encrypted web services call so that we can send a one-time password via telephone or SMS text messages, and of course to deliver and install a X509 certificate to your user's browser at the end. So after we install the appliance into the infrastructure, we will have to do a couple of configuration changes. We will go into the SharePoint Central Administration Console, look for the authentication type, and change it to forms. And this tells SharePoint to use forms-based authentication on this point forward. Next, we'll go down a little bit and look for the membership provider name. We will change the membership provider name to either SQL Server or Active Directory so that SharePoint will be in sync with SecureAuth and both parties knows which data store each other is using. After that, we'll save it up, and that's it for the console. The last step is to go into the installation folder of SharePoint services and open up the web.config file. We will look for the attribute of login URL, and we will change its URL to the SecureAuth appliance URL. And what this does is, it will allow SharePoint to send all the unauthenticated traffic to SecureAuth appliance to handle the authentication process. We'll save it off, and that's it. That concludes the integration process. Very simple.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Team out there, what we want you to realize is this product is integrated into the Microsoft stack, into the classic ASP.NET stack of integration solutions. It's using the membership or profile classes to access your Active Directory of MSQL, and it's also using the very powerful new feature of forms-based authentication to understand whether the user has been authenticated, and if it hasn't been authenticated, redirect to the SecureAuth appliance. The value of this, in summary, is that it does uniquely protect against these two very new and very menacing attacks. That is phishing and man-in-the-middle attacks. What is relevant here, and there's been some dialogue already on the chat line, and we will address in the question session of this, is that what is occurring out there is that the users of today are being validated in valid ways. And what I mean by that is, yes, using a token is a valid way to authenticate the left-hand side, that is the user. What is not occurring is that authentication is not going the other direction. That is, the client is not validating that I'm actually coming to www.bank.com or www.financialservice.com. He is simply trusting the DNS service. All sorts of hacks could be going on. As we've seen in the Kaminsky report dated July 9th, is that the DNS itself could be flawed. He went so far this morning to say there are 64,000 DNS servers who are issuing false DNS IP addresses to targets. Solutions that are doing unilateral authentication, such as tokens, which is unilateral, all it is authenticating the left-hand side, are not doing their job to protect against man-in-the-middle and phishing attacks. To protect against a man-in-the-middle attack or a DNS attack, you need a defensive depth, as Matt Testing so wisely introduced on this call. You need a way to validate the server, not just trusting that the DNS that could be flawed is the actual site. You need a way to say, dear server, I'm sending you a cryptographic packet that only you, server, that have the private key registered to www.bank.com can correctly sign and return to me. That is what X509 v3 validation is. That's what the authentication and the validation that SecureAuth does. All right, that was a fun rant. The next value of our product, as you saw, was fighting the keyloggers. And what we did there is send a one-time, that's valid, one-time registration code to the user, and then have them implement the actual, put in the actual registration code in a keylogger-proof keypad. The last thing, which is not obvious because it's not visible, but it's technology that we integrated in the product, is follow-on attack. What we've done is, in the process, is when the server side, that's our SecureAuth appliance, sends out the request for the certificate to be signed, we keep track of every certificate request that we send out and only allow one response. So no follow-on attack can occur.